My wife texted. Just a heads up, I told everyone we're taking a break. While I was at a business meeting, I replied, thanks for letting me know. Then I made it permanent. The Facebook relationship status change she saw at her sister's wedding. Thursday afternoon. I was mid-presentation in a downtown Chicago boardroom, the kind of room that smells like expensive cologne, recycled air, and quiet judgment. The CFO was staring at me like I'd just asked him to invest in time travel. My laser pointer hand was trembling from too much caffeine, and my half-dead coffee was doing its best impression of a survival tool. Our predictive model can save your company up to $12 million annually, I said, trying to sound like someone who hadn't been awake since 5 a.m. The projector hummed. The executives blinked. Then my phone buzzed. Once. Twice. The vibration was subtle, but my brain caught it like a dog hearing the word walk. Marina, my wife, probably sending a meme or another list of things I forgot to do around the house. I ignored it. Big mistake. When you're in a high-stakes pitch, you can't afford distractions. But apparently, my marriage couldn't afford patience. 45 minutes later, after handshakes and forced smiles, I finally checked my phone. One text. Short. Casual. Too casual. Just a heads up, I told everyone we're taking a break. LOL. We can talk when you're back Sunday. My sister's wedding is this weekend. Super busy. Read it once. Then again. Then a third time because my brain refused to believe this was real life. Told everyone. Past tense. Meaning the memo had already gone out to her entire circle, probably with matching emojis and a side of melodrama. We're taking a break. Wasn't a question. It was a press release I never approved. And the LOL? That was the garnish of cruelty. A digital shrug at the implosion of a 6-year marriage. You know that slow, rising heat that crawls up your neck when reality decides to smack you? Yeah, that. I sat there in that sterile conference room, staring at her message like it was an ad for stupidity I'd accidentally subscribed to. Everyone else was packing up their laptops, laughing, networking. Me? I was debating whether I'd just been soft-launched into divorce. My thumbs hovered over the screen. I could have written something emotional, something rational, something that would later get quoted by therapists in case studies about communication breakdowns. Instead, I typed, thanks for letting me know. Hit send. Minimalist. Efficient. Emotionally bankrupt, just like her timing. After that, I did what any self-respecting man freshly single via text would do. I went downstairs to the hotel bar and ordered something strong enough to erase vowels from my vocabulary. The bartender, a guy named Vince with the patience of a saint and the face of someone who's seen too many midlife crises, poured me a double whiskey and said, rough day? You could say that, I replied. My wife just ended our marriage with a text that included a LOL. He froze mid-polish. She ended it with a laugh? Yup. He winced. That's criminal. Technically not yet, but give me the weekend. I downed the drink, and for a second, the burn made more sense than my entire relationship. I thought about calling her, but what was the point? She was super busy with wedding prep, probably telling everyone some filtered version of the story. He was distant. He was always working. We grew apart. Yeah, because one of us was out there building a future while the other was flirting with her high school nostalgia like it was a career path. I stared into my empty glass, thinking about how many signs I'd missed. The girls' weekends that lasted 5 days. The sudden obsession with Pilates. The way she started ending phone calls with K instead of love you. I thought we were just going through a slump. Turns out, I was just going through the prequel to my own humiliation. Back in my hotel room, I loosened my tie, sat on the edge of the bed, and stared at my reflection in the black TV screen. My life looked like a paused commercial for heartbreak insurance. A part of me wanted to drive straight home, confront her, demand answers, but the bigger part, the quieter one, whispered, why bother? She'd already written the narrative. We're taking a break. Translation, I found someone to compare you to. So, I did what I do best. I compartmentalized. I picked up my laptop and answered emails, pretending to be the guy whose life hadn't just turned into a meme. But then, somewhere between, thanks for your prompt feedback, and let's circle back Monday, I stopped typing. The phrase, taking a break, replayed in my head on a loop until it lost meaning. Taking a break? From what? Paying bills? Sharing rent? Me existing? That's when the clarity hit. Not gentle, not gradual. Just a full-blown, neon-lit revelation. If she wanted a break, fine. She'd get one. A permanent one. Lifetime warranty included. No refunds, no exchanges. I ordered another whiskey from room service, because closure tastes better with ice. The delivery guy looked like he'd rather be anywhere else when I opened the door in my half-untucked dress shirt. "Long day?" he asked, handing me the glass. Longest text message of my life. He nodded like he'd been there. Maybe he had. Maybe half the city had been there. I sat by the window, the Chicago skyline glowing like a screensaver for people pretending to have their lives together. Somewhere, Marina was probably sipping wine with her sister, venting about me. I could practically hear it. "He's always working. He doesn't listen. He doesn't post about me enough." "Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't post your new smoothie recipe, Marina. I was too busy funding your smoothie machine." The more I thought about it, the funnier it got. Not haha funny, but this'll be hilarious once I survive it funny. She'd made a public announcement without telling me. Fine. I'd make my own. A different kind of public. A digital mic drop. But that would come later. For now, I needed to finish my drink, take a shower, and prepare for the quietest night of my life. Lying there in that hotel bed, staring at the ceiling, I replayed our last normal moment, 2 nights ago, when she kissed me goodbye and said, "Don't stress too much about that presentation." Her tone had been light, but her eyes? Cold, like she'd already packed up emotionally. I'd brushed it off, thinking I was overanalyzing. But no, turns out, my instincts were right on time. I was just too polite to listen to them. And the worst part? She'd used LOL. That's how unserious my ending was. My marriage got wrapped up in a laugh out loud, like a punchline in a bad sitcom. "Honey, we're done. LOL." I almost wished she'd yelled, thrown something, cheated. At least those require effort. But this was lazy heartbreak. Breakup by text message. I was a notification away from being replaced. So I made a decision that night, cold, calm, and beautifully petty. If she wanted a break, she'd get the most efficient one imaginable. No long talks. No tearful reconciliations. I'd give her what she wanted, but better, cleaner, faster. Like an Apple update she didn't read the terms for. I smiled to myself, clinking the last bit of ice in my glass. "Congrats, Marina," I whispered into the dim hotel room. "You just launched version 2.0 of me. Now with zero tolerance for nonsense." Then I turned off the lights, set my phone face down, and let the city hum me to sleep. Tomorrow, I'd go from shocked husband to strategically single. She wanted a break? She was about to find out what it meant to be truly logged out. Back in my hotel room, still wearing my suit like a man who'd lost both the deal and the girl, I stared at my reflection in the blackout window. I looked like one of those motivational speakers who never quite made it to the stage. My tie was loose, my hair was a negotiation between burnout and broke, and my phone kept lighting up with nothing but silence. No follow-up text from Marina. No apology. Just that earlier digital guillotine. "We're taking a break." I sat there for 10 whole minutes, just breathing, until I realized breathing wasn't helping. So I grabbed my laptop and did what any emotionally stable, recently text-dumped husband would do. I opened Facebook. There it was, our relationship status sitting there smugly under our profile photos. Married to Marina Vasquez. The kind of digital declaration that once meant something back when people used to frame wedding photos instead of posting them for likes. My cursor hovered over it. For a moment, I hesitated. Changing that status felt like pushing a button that would set off emotional fireworks across every device in her family tree. But then I remembered her text, the LOL, the casual apocalypse of it. And suddenly, I wasn't hesitant anymore. Click. Relationship status, single. No tears. No speech. Just pure, algorithmic justice. The second I hit save, it felt like deleting a virus. Somewhere out there, Facebook servers were sending her friends a little notification. Lucas Merritt is now single. I almost wished I could have seen her face. The kind of slow, wide-eyed horror that only happens when someone realizes they're not the only one who can play the public relations game. While I waited for the dopamine to kick in, I poured myself a cheap bourbon from the minibar and opened a new tab. Google search bar, blank, judgmental, ready. I typed, "Can you evict your spouse if she's not on the lease?" Because why wallow when you can strategize? And would you believe it? Turns out, yes. If they're not on the lease or contributing rent directly, they're considered a guest. Legally, just a guest. Not a tenant, not a co-owner, not even a roommate. A guest. And guests can be asked to leave at any time. If they refuse, it's called trespassing. I nearly choked on my bourbon. It was like reading divine scripture. And lo, the Lord said unto him, Thou shalt not tolerate freeloaders who light too many candles. See, Marina had moved into my place 2 years ago. Never wanted her name on the lease because it felt too permanent. Oh, the irony. Back then, I thought it was cute, free-spirited, spontaneous, romantic even. Turns out, it was the smartest thing she ever did for me without meaning to. Because now, the legal system and I were suddenly best friends. I called my landlord the next morning, Gordon, a retired jazz musician turned property manager, who wore Hawaiian shirts even in January. The kind of guy who didn't know the meaning of stress unless rent was late. Hey man, I said, trying to sound casual, like this was just another Thursday problem. Quick question, if my wife isn't on the lease but lives here, what's the process for, asking her to leave? Gordon chuckled like I'd just asked for a recipe. She paying rent? Nope, just fills the place with candles and drama. Then she's a guest, he said without missing a beat. Tell her to pack her stuff. If she refuses, it's trespassing. You can call the cops. I blinked. Wait, you're telling me I can legally change the locks? Absolutely. My cousin did it last month to his ex, worked like a charm. Music to my ears. I thanked him, hung up, and leaned back in the hotel chair like a man who'd just discovered fire. I wasn't angry anymore. I was inspired. This wasn't heartbreak, it was a project. And nobody executes a plan better than a man who just got embarrassed in a group chat. By 10 a.m., I was making lists. Literal lists. One for what she owned, too much. One for what I'd keep, my sanity. And one for what I'd burn if necessary, her collection of motivational throw pillows. Marina had this obsession with putting inspirational quotes on everything. Pillows, mugs, even the bathroom mirror. Good vibes only. Choose joy. Gratitude is an attitude. Yeah? Well, eviction is a lifestyle. I texted my friend Owen, who worked in real estate and occasionally moonlighted as my bad decision consultant. Me? How fast can you change a lock? Owen, is this a real estate question or an emotional one? Me, both. Owen, what did Marina do now? Me. Announced our breakup to the world mid-board meeting. Owen, Jesus. Okay, when are you flying back? Me, tomorrow. Operation Freedom starts Saturday. Owen, you naming your revenge plan? Me, you're damn right I am. Friday morning, I woke up early, still in that weird, electric mix of heartbreak and motivation. I checked Facebook again. Sure enough, my status update had done its job. Notifications flooded my feed. Some people liked it. Some commented with the classic "you good, bro" messages. And a few mutual friends, those nosy little digital squirrels, probably screenshotted it for Marina. I didn't care. Let the public know. Let the group chats buzz. I was done being the quiet one. As I packed my bag, I found her old note tucked in my laptop sleeve. The one she'd written a year ago before a business trip. Miss you already. Can't wait for Sunday pancakes. Love, M. I stared at it for a second, waiting for nostalgia to hit. It didn't. Just irritation. Pancakes my ass. She hadn't cooked breakfast in 6 months. I crumpled the note, tossed it into the hotel trash, and muttered, Guess I'll make my own damn pancakes. The flight back home felt like an episode of emotional turbulence. Middle seat, crying baby, Wi-Fi slower than moral growth in her family group chat. I sat there, sipping bad airplane coffee, rehearsing everything I'd say to her if she was home when I arrived. The speech went through several drafts in my head, starting with calm reasoning, devolving into courtroom-style cross-examination, and ending somewhere between petty sarcasm and complete emotional anarchy. But by the time we landed, I'd realized I didn't want a confrontation. I wanted silence. The kind of silence that echoed after closure. I texted Luis the locksmith before the plane even taxied to the gate. Hey man, you available Saturday afternoon? He replied with a thumbs-up emoji and a receipt for professionalism. That night, I treated myself to room service one last time. Steak, mashed potatoes, and a slice of chocolate cake I didn't need, but damn well earned. I toasted myself with my water glass. To clean exits, I said aloud, ignoring the side eye from the maid who'd just walked in with extra towels. Then I opened Facebook again, not to post, but to scroll. And there it was, Marina's page. Updated, polished, and nauseatingly curated. Her latest post. Sometimes you have to take a step back to find yourself. Growth isn't selfish. Hundreds of likes. Comments from friends saying things like, "So proud of you, queen," and "Stay strong, sis." I almost laughed so hard I choked on my cake. Growth? She'd been finding herself in other people's DMs for months, apparently. The irony was delicious. She wanted to find herself? Perfect. I'd help her pack a compass. Scrolling through her comments, I noticed one that made me pause. Logan, her ex, the one she swore was just a friend. He'd left a simple heart emoji. A red one, not even a subtle one. The disrespect was astronomical. That was it. The final green light. I needed to go full corporate on this marriage. No more sympathy. No more playing the fool. I shut my laptop, stood by the window again, and let Chicago's skyline blur into focus. The city looked cleaner now, like it understood. I had one goal, one mission, and it wasn't revenge, it was peace. Beautiful, righteous, legally airtight peace. As I crawled into bed, I thought about everything that was about to change. She'd walk into that apartment on Saturday, expecting her same setup, scented candles, throw blankets, and me waiting like some background character in her dramatic monologue. Instead, she'd meet reality. A locked door, her stuff in boxes, and a silence that said everything I'd been too patient to voice. I smiled for the first time in days. A small one, but it felt earned. Because this wasn't just about ending a relationship. It was about ending a routine of disrespect disguised as communication. I wasn't her emotional punching bag anymore. I was a man with a plan, a lease, and a legally recognized right to peace of mind. Before drifting off, I grabbed my phone and texted Owen again. Me. If you don't hear from me tomorrow by 5, check the obituaries. Owen, you sure about this? Me. Absolutely. She started it. I'm just finalizing the paperwork. Owen, you sound terrifyingly calm. Me. Good. That's how you know it's real. And as I turned off the lamp, I realized something profound. Not about love, or marriage, or communication. Just this. Some people want closure through conversations. I prefer mine through lock changes. Tomorrow, Marina would come home to a new version of me. The kind that doesn't ask for permission, only receipts. She wanted freedom? She was about to experience it, one box at a time. Saturday morning. Chicago skies gray enough to match my mood, but bright enough to say, "You're not dead yet, champ." My flight landed at O'Hare a little before 10. I didn't even bother checking my phone. No point. The only text I wanted to see was from a locksmith, and Luis had already confirmed he was on standby. Operation Freedom was officially in motion. As I walked through the terminal, I passed a couple arguing by the baggage carousel. The woman was crying. The guy was begging. I couldn't help but smile, not in a cruel way, just in that, thank God it's not me anymore kind of way. There's something liberating about realizing your chaos is finally on a return policy. When I got home, I expected silence. What I didn't expect was the smell of lavender perfume so thick it could be bottled and sold as passive aggression number 5. The faint odor of burnt toast lingered too, like a farewell from a domestic ghost. Marina wasn't home, thank the gods of timing, but her presence was everywhere. Shoes lined up like a museum exhibit, throw blankets folded with the precision of a hotel maid, candles arranged by scent family. It was less an apartment and more a hostage situation curated by Pinterest. I set my suitcase down, rolled up my sleeves, and muttered to no one, "Let's do this." First, the shoes. She owned more pairs than days in a year, which was ironic because she wore the same 3 pairs on rotation like it was a uniform. Heels, flats, sneakers, repeat. The rest? Decorative, apparently. I started with the shoe rack, boxing them one by one, each thud into the box feeling like a tiny bit of closure. Gucci, Louboutin, Zara. Some labels I couldn't even pronounce without sounding like a fraud. I didn't care. They all went into neatly labeled boxes. Foot fetish supply, return to sender. Then came her skincare collection. You'd think she was running a secret lab in the bathroom. Serums, toners, eye creams, jade rollers, mystery droppers that cost more than rent. I lined them up like suspects. Who here made her break out in emotional immaturity? I said, pretending to interrogate them. Nobody confessed, So I packed them all into a box labeled Vanity Crimes Unit. By hour 2, I was sweating through my t-shirt, but there was something oddly therapeutic about it. Each folded blouse, each rolled-up yoga mat felt like an apology I'd never get. I was Marie Kondo-ng my way through emotional debris, asking, does this spark rage? And if the answer was yes, it went in a box. Then I hit the living room. The decorative pillows. Oh, the damn pillows. 17 of them. 17. Who needs that many cushions for a couch that barely fits 2 people? She'd always say, they make the space inviting. Inviting for who? The Queen of England? I stood there, glaring at that fortress of fluff like it had personally betrayed me. All right, troops, I said aloud. You've had a good run. One by one, I stuffed them into a massive box, muttering, no mercy, like a war general reclaiming territory. Halfway through, Owen called. How's Operation Freedom going? He asked, chewing something that sounded like victory. Imagine cleaning up after a hurricane that wore heels, I said, wiping sweat from my forehead. Damn, you need help? No, I'm in my Zen era. Zen? Yeah, I'm one Beyoncé song away from a full emotional rebirth. He laughed. Just don't light her stuff on fire. Courts frown on that. I'm not a monster, Owen. I'm a minimalist. After hanging up, I took a break, poured myself an iced coffee, and looked around. The place already felt lighter, quieter, like I'd finally removed an echo that had been talking back for years. I walked into the bedroom and stared at our, sorry, my bed. The comforter, the scented candles, the his and hers nightstands. I smirked. Guess it's just his now. I grabbed her side's drawer handle and pulled. Inside, lip balms, random jewelry, and a stack of wedding cards we'd kept for nostalgia. Big mistake. One card caught my eye. Her handwriting, dated from our first anniversary. You make me feel safe, seen, and supported. Love you forever. I read it twice. My stomach twisted, but then the sarcasm kicked in like a life raft. Yeah, safe enough to nuke my marriage via text, I muttered, tossing it into a box. Sentimentality had left the building. By noon, I was nearly done. Boxes stacked neatly by the door, labeled like a UPS driver's fever dream. Shoes and lies, spa supplies and secrets, candles and contradictions. My living room looked like the aftermath of a breakup sale. That's when Louise showed up. Mid-40s, mustache, and an energy that screamed, divorced twice and unbothered. You the guy who called about the locks? He asked. That's me. He glanced at the boxes, nodded knowingly. Breakup day. I smiled. You could say that. He pulled out his tools. Happens more than you'd think. People trust the wrong ones, forget to trust the locks. That might be the most profound thing anyone's ever said in this apartment, I said. He shrugged. It's in the job description. 30 minutes and 2 clicks later, the locks were changed. Luis handed me the new keys like a priest delivering absolution. You're free, man, he said. Feels like it. I tipped him extra. He deserved it just for the poetry. As he left, I tested the new lock. Smooth, decisive. The sound it made was like a period at the end of a very long, very unnecessary paragraph. I stared at the door for a few seconds, letting it sink in. For the first time in months, the place actually felt like mine. No background tension, no forced small talk, no silent treatment disguised as peace. Just quiet. I ordered takeout. Thai food, the kind she hated because she claimed cilantro tasted like betrayal. Fitting. I ate it straight from the container while scrolling through social media. Her latest post was still up, taking time to focus on myself this weekend. The comments section was a shrine of, you got this, queen. And self-care is everything. I laughed so loud I scared the neighbor's cat off the windowsill. If only they knew that self-care currently meant homeless pending pickup. By evening, I was sprawled on the couch, surrounded by neatly stacked boxes of her belongings, sipping another iced coffee like it was champagne. It wasn't sadness I felt. It was relief with a hint of caffeine overdose. I turned on some music, something upbeat, and started doing small cleanup rounds, vacuuming, wiping down counters, reclaiming space that used to be hers. It was like spring cleaning for the soul. Around 7 p.m., I texted Owen a picture of the boxes. Me. Mission accomplished. Owen, damn. You work fast. Me. Efficiency is the best revenge. Owen. You gonna tell her, or let the new locks do the talking? Me. Oh, she'll figure it out. By 9 p.m., I was exhausted but wired, the weird energy that hits after an emotional sprint. I poured myself a glass of bourbon, turned off the lights, and just sat there in the dark, staring at the door. The quiet hum of the refrigerator was the only sound. It felt peaceful, like my life had been on mute before and I'd just rediscovered sound. Then I imagined her reaction. Marina, coming home after her sister's rehearsal dinner, tipsy from champagne, smug with attention. She'd reach for her keys, humming whatever song she'd danced to. And then, click click. Nothing. The lock wouldn't turn. Her perfect little world suddenly locked out. I almost felt bad for her. Almost. I poured another bourbon and raised it toward the door like a toast. To boundaries. The apartment was dark except for the streetlight bleeding through the blinds. I walked around, looking at the spaces she'd cluttered, every shelf, every corner now bare. It was weirdly satisfying to see how little of her absence actually mattered. Turns out, once you remove the drama, there's plenty of room for peace. I thought about texting her, just something simple like, "Hey, found your stuff a new zip code." But no, silence was louder. Silence had style. By midnight, I was lying on the couch, half drunk, half proud, staring at the ceiling fan as it turned slowly, hypnotically. My mind drifted to the version of me that had tolerated her moods, her guilt trips, her emotional high-maintenance lifestyle. That guy had been patient to a fault, believing love meant endurance. Tonight, that guy was gone. In his place was someone calmer, funnier, lighter, someone who'd finally realized that sometimes peace costs you a relationship, and that's a bargain. Before I drifted off to sleep, I whispered to myself, if she wanted a break, she got one. Then I laughed softly, the kind of laugh that comes when you realize you've officially outgrown the drama. And outside, somewhere in the parking lot, fate was probably giggling too, because in less than 12 hours, Marina would return to find her key useless, her ego bruised, and her perfectly staged life in cardboard boxes by the door. Closure wasn't coming tomorrow. Closure had already happened today. By the next morning, my phone looked like it had survived a social media bombing. 23 missed calls, 14 voice messages, and at least 30 texts that read like a family group chat uprising. The Vasquez clan had gone full Marvel mode overnight, assembling faster than the Avengers, but with worse teamwork and more passive aggression. I sat at my kitchen counter, coffee in hand, scrolling through the messages like a war general reading enemy transmissions. The first was from Veronica, my dear mother-in-law, also known as the Screamer in Pearls. How dare you throw my daughter out during wedding week? The dramatics of it all. Wedding week, like it was a national holiday or a hostage situation. Next came Leon, Marina's dad, the self-appointed patriarch who always spoke like he was narrating a car commercial. Son, we need to talk. Translation. I'm about to yell at you while pretending it's fatherly wisdom. Then came the bride herself, Carmen. Can you please not ruin my wedding? My favorite was from their cousin Eli, the family clown. Bro, that's cold. I replied to exactly one message, Leon's. Short and surgical. She told everyone we were on a break without asking me. I made it permanent. Send. Silence. Then, of course, more outrage. By 9 a.m., the calls had slowed, replaced by the telltale sound of my Ring camera dinging. I opened the app, and there she was. Veronica, in all her furious glory, standing outside my apartment door in a floral dress that probably doubled as battle armor. Beside her stood Marina, arms folded, looking like a woman auditioning for America's Next Top Victim. I sighed, took a slow sip of coffee, and turned on the mic. Morning, ladies. Lovely day for trespassing, isn't it? Veronica looked directly into the camera. Lucas, open this door right now. You can't lock out your wife. You mean ex-wife? I corrected. And I can, actually. Legally verified and everything. I can print the article if you'd like a copy for your scrapbook. Marina's voice was sharp enough to cut drywall. You're insane. You can't just change the locks like I'm a stranger. You are a stranger, I said evenly. To honesty, to communication, to shared leases. Veronica grabbed the camera lens like she was filming her own hostage video. You listen to me, young man. You've embarrassed this family enough. Oh no, that was your daughter, I said, still calm. She just outsourced the cleanup to me. The two of them started arguing, not with me, but with each other. I could only hear bits through the mic. I told you to wait until after the wedding. And he was supposed to understand. And my personal favorite from Veronica. You can't even keep a husband for a full tax year. I nearly choked on my coffee. It was like live theater for the emotionally unavailable. Then came the knocking. Hard, impatient, the kind that says, "We pay your bills," except they didn't. I let them knock for a full minute before opening the door halfway, chain still on. Veronica's face appeared through the gap, perfectly powdered rage. "Lucas Merritt, you let her in this instant." "Veronica," I said, smiling politely, "I appreciate your commitment to motherly overreach, but unless you're on the lease or the utility bill, this is just a hallway for you." Marina glared at me. "You think this is funny? You think humiliating me in front of everyone is some kind of joke? Funny? No. I'd call it poetic justice. You announced a breakup to everyone, remember? I'm just catching up to the headline." She scoffed. "You're acting like a child." I shrugged. Children don't usually pay rent or hire locksmiths. So technically, I'm acting like a responsible adult. Veronica gasped. "You will not speak to her that way." I didn't realize there was a right way to talk to someone who started her single era in a group chat. I replied. Leon appeared then, because of course he did. Dads can sense chaos within a 3-mile radius. He came striding down the hallway in khakis and a polo like he was about to mediate a little league dispute. "Lucas," he said, holding up both hands. "Let's calm down." "I am calm, Leon." "Okay, well, she's upset. Maybe just let her come inside and get her bearings." "Her bearings are in those boxes." I pointed to the neatly stacked towers beside the door, color-coded and labeled. I even wrapped the fragile ones. He blinked. "You boxed her things?" "Of course. I run an efficient operation." Marina threw her hands up. "Oh my God, you're enjoying this." "Not enjoying. Just documenting." I pulled out my phone and started filming. Gotta keep records. You know, for the next episode of the Audacity Chronicles. Veronica lunged for the phone, but Leon stopped her. "Enough," he said firmly. "Lucas, listen, she made a mistake. She was emotional. Maybe you can forgive, move past it." I looked him dead in the eye. "Leon, if she'd just cheated, I could almost respect it. At least that requires effort. What she did was lazy betrayal, the text message equivalent of ghosting your mortgage." Carmen appeared next, the bride, the family's peacekeeper, looking exhausted and overdressed for confrontation. "Everyone stop," she pleaded. "My wedding is in 2 days. Can we not turn this into a reality show?" Marina whirled on her sister. "Don't you dare take his side." "I'm not taking sides," Carmen yelled. "I'm taking deep breaths because you're ruining my rehearsal dinner." I leaned casually against the doorframe. She's not wrong. This is giving more drama than romance. "Lucas," Marina shrieked. "Marina." I mimicked, because maturity's overrated once someone weaponizes family. Veronica pointed a shaking finger at me. "You're going to regret this when your next girlfriend sees how cruel you can be." "Actually," I said, "my next girlfriend will probably thank me for the improved security system." Leon rubbed his temples. "This is unbelievable." "No," I corrected. "This is closure. You're witnessing it in real time." They all started talking over each other then. Accusations, sob stories, half-truths, all bouncing off the hallway walls like emotional dodgeballs. I stood there behind the chain lock, sipping coffee like a museum guard watching visitors argue over modern art. Eventually, Carmen had enough. "That's it," she snapped. "Mom, Dad, Marina, get in the car. We're leaving. Right now." Veronica turned to her. "We are not leaving until he apologizes." "For what?" I asked. "Being efficient?" "For being a monster," she yelled. I smiled. "A monster with a lease." Carmen grabbed Marina by the arm. "You can cry later. We've got a florist meeting in 30 minutes, and you look like you wrestled a raccoon." "Wow," I said. "Sister of the year." Carmen glared at me. "Don't make me regret defending you." "Lucas." "Defending me?" She rolled her eyes. "She's been lying to everyone for weeks, saying you're the reason she's miserable. I told Mom to stay out of it. She didn't. So here we are." I raised an eyebrow. "So you do see the pattern?" Carmen sighed. "Don't push it." Then to her sister, "Grab your boxes or don't. Either way, we're leaving." Marina stared at me for a long second, eyes glassy with fury and humiliation. "You think you've won, don't you?" she hissed. "No," I said calmly. "Winning would have been a marriage that didn't end with emojis. This is just damage control." She opened her mouth to fire back, but Carmen dragged her away. The family retreat was spectacular. Veronica huffing, Leon defeated, Marina muttering insults under her breath. I watched them disappear into the elevator, the metallic doors sliding shut like punctuation on the loudest paragraph of my life. When the hall went quiet again, I closed the door, locked it, and just stood there, smiling. Not the manic kind. The peaceful, post-storm grin of someone who just survived emotional weather. I went to the kitchen, poured another cup of coffee, and turned on the radio. Some old blues track played. Smooth, ironic, perfect. I leaned back against the counter, watching the sunlight crawl across the floor, and thought about how bizarrely satisfying it all was. By lunchtime, I'd already started getting new texts, screenshots of Marina's latest group chat meltdown. Apparently, she'd told everyone I was abusive, which was bold coming from someone who weaponized social media like a sniper rifle. Owen texted me, "You're trending in her family chat. Congrats, you're the villain." I replied, "About time someone noticed my range." Around 3 p.m., Gordon the landlord called. "Hey, kid, everything good over there? Your wife's mom left me a voicemail calling me an accessory to cruelty." I laughed. "I prefer the term collaborator." "Fair enough," he said. "Just making sure you're not getting sued." "Not yet," I said, grinning. "But if I do, I'll frame it." The rest of the day was blissfully uneventful. No more door pounding, no more shouting, just quiet, the kind that feels earned. I spent the afternoon doing something truly rebellious. Nothing. I stretched out on the couch, watched a game, and let the smell of peace fill the room. That evening, I got one last text from Veronica. "You will regret humiliating my daughter." I typed back, "Already did. 6 years ago." Then I blocked her number. As the sun set, I stood by the window, bourbon in hand, looking down at the street. Somewhere out there, the Vasquez clan was regrouping, plotting their next dramatic episode. But for now, the season finale had aired, and the audience, me, was satisfied. Because for the first time in years, my life didn't feel like something happening to me. It felt like something I was writing. And damn, I was writing it well. By the next morning, my phone looked like it had survived a social media bombing. 23 missed calls, 14 voice messages, and at least 30 texts that read like a family group chat uprising. The Vasquez clan had gone full Marvel mode overnight, assembling faster than the Avengers, but with worse teamwork and more passive aggression. I sat at my kitchen counter, coffee in hand, scrolling through the messages like a war general reading enemy transmissions. The first was from Veronica, my dear mother-in-law, also known as the Screamer in Pearls. "How dare you throw my daughter out during wedding week?" The dramatics of it all. Wedding week, like it was a national holiday or a hostage situation. Next came Leon, Marina's dad, the self-appointed patriarch who always spoke like he was narrating a car commercial. "Son, we need to talk." Translation: "I'm about to yell at you while pretending it's fatherly wisdom." Then came the bride herself, Carmen. "Can you please not ruin my wedding?" My favorite was from their cousin Eli, the family clown. "Bro, that's cold." I replied to exactly one message, Leon's. Short and surgical. She told everyone we were on a break without asking me. I made it permanent. Send. Silence. Then, of course, more outrage. By 9 a.m., the calls had slowed, replaced by the telltale sound of my Ring camera dinging. I opened the app, and there she was. Veronica, in all her furious glory, standing outside my apartment door in a floral dress that probably doubled as battle armor. Beside her stood Marina, arms folded, looking like a woman auditioning for America's Next Top Victim. I sighed, took a slow sip of coffee, and turned on the mic. "Morning, ladies. Lovely day for trespassing, isn't it?" Veronica looked directly into the camera. "Lucas, open this door right now. You can't lock out your wife." "You mean ex-wife?" I corrected. "And I can, actually. Legally verified and everything. I can print the article if you'd like a copy for your scrapbook." Marina's voice was sharp enough to cut drywall. "You're insane. You can't just change the locks like I'm a stranger." "You are a stranger," I said evenly. "To honesty, to communication, to shared leases." Veronica grabbed the camera lens like she was filming her own hostage video. "You listen to me, young man. You've embarrassed this family enough." "Oh no, that was your daughter," I said, still calm. "She just outsourced the cleanup to me." The two of them started arguing, not with me, but with each other. I could only hear bits through the mic. "I told you to wait until after the wedding. and he was supposed to understand. And my personal favorite from Veronica. You can't even keep a husband for a full tax year. I nearly choked on my coffee. It was like live theater for the emotionally unavailable. Then came the knocking. Hard, impatient, the kind that says, "We pay your bills," except they didn't. I let them knock for a full minute before opening the door halfway, chain still on. Veronica's face appeared through the gap, perfectly powdered rage. "Lucas Merritt, you let her in this instant." "Veronica," I said, smiling politely, "I appreciate your commitment to motherly overreach, but unless you're on the lease or the utility bill, this is just a hallway for you." Marina glared at me. "You think this is funny? You think humiliating me in front of everyone is some kind of joke? Funny? No, I'd call it poetic justice. You announced a breakup to everyone, remember? I'm just catching up to the headline." She scoffed. "You're acting like a child." I shrugged. Children don't usually pay rent or hire locksmiths. So technically, I'm acting like a responsible adult. Veronica gasped. "You will not speak to her that way." I didn't realize there was a right way to talk to someone who started her single era in a group chat, I replied. Leon appeared then, because of course he did. Dads can sense chaos within a 3-mile radius. He came striding down the hallway in khakis and a polo like he was about to mediate a Little League dispute. "Lucas," he said, holding up both hands. "Let's calm down." "I am calm, Leon." "Okay, well, she's upset. Maybe just let her come inside and get her bearings." "Her bearings are in those boxes." I pointed to the neatly stacked towers beside the door, color-coded and labeled. I even wrapped the fragile ones. He blinked. "You boxed her things?" "Of course. I run an efficient operation." Marina threw her hands up. "Oh my God, you're enjoying this." "Not enjoying. Just documenting." I pulled out my phone and started filming. Gotta keep records. You know, for the next episode of the Audacity Chronicles. Veronica lunged for the phone, but Leon stopped her. "Enough," he said firmly. "Lucas, listen, she made a mistake. She was emotional. Maybe you can forgive, move past it." I looked him dead in the eye. "Leon, if she'd just cheated, I could almost respect it. At least that requires effort. What she did was lazy betrayal, the text message equivalent of ghosting your mortgage." Carmen appeared next, the bride, the family's peacekeeper, looking exhausted and overdressed for confrontation. "Everyone stop," she pleaded. "My wedding is in 2 days. Can we not turn this into a reality show?" Marina whirled on her sister. "Don't you dare take his side." "I'm not taking sides," Carmen yelled. "I'm taking deep breaths because you're ruining my rehearsal dinner." I leaned casually against the doorframe. She's not wrong. This is giving more drama than romance. "Lucas," Marina shrieked. "Marina." I mimicked, because maturity's overrated once someone weaponizes family. Veronica pointed a shaking finger at me. "You're going to regret this when your next girlfriend sees how cruel you can be." "Actually," I said, "my next girlfriend will probably thank me for the improved security system." Leon rubbed his temples. "This is unbelievable." "No," I corrected. "This is closure. You're witnessing it in real time." They all started talking over each other then. Accusations, sob stories, half-truths, all bouncing off the hallway walls like emotional dodgeballs. I stood there behind the chain lock, sipping coffee like a museum guard watching visitors argue over modern art. Eventually, Carmen had enough. "That's it," she snapped. "Mom, Dad, Marina, get in the car. We're leaving. Right now." Veronica turned to her. "We are not leaving until he apologizes." "For what?" I asked. "Being efficient?" "For being a monster," she yelled. I smiled. "A monster with a lease." Carmen grabbed Marina by the arm. "You can cry later. We've got a florist meeting in 30 minutes, and you look like you wrestled a raccoon." "Wow," I said. "Sister of the year." Carmen glared at me. "Don't make me regret defending you." "Lucas." "Defending me?" She rolled her eyes. "She's been lying to everyone for weeks, saying you're the reason she's miserable. I told Mom to stay out of it. She didn't. So here we are." I raised an eyebrow. "So you do see the pattern?" Carmen sighed. "Don't push it." Then to her sister, "Grab your boxes or don't. Either way, we're leaving." Marina stared at me for a long second, eyes glassy with fury and humiliation. "You think you've won, don't you?" she hissed. "No," I said calmly. "Winning would have been a marriage that didn't end with emojis. This is just damage control." She opened her mouth to fire back, but Carmen dragged her away. The family retreat was spectacular. Veronica huffing, Leon defeated, Marina muttering insults under her breath. I watched them disappear into the elevator, the metallic doors sliding shut like punctuation on the loudest paragraph of my life. When the hall went quiet again, I closed the door, locked it, and just stood there, smiling. Not the manic kind, the peaceful, post-storm grin of someone who just survived emotional weather. I went to the kitchen, poured another cup of coffee, and turned on the radio. Some old blues track played, smooth, ironic, perfect. I leaned back against the counter, watching the sunlight crawl across the floor, and thought about how bizarrely satisfying it all was. By lunchtime, I'd already started getting new texts, screenshots of Marina's latest group chat meltdown. Apparently, she'd told everyone I was abusive, which was bold coming from someone who weaponized social media like a sniper rifle. Owen texted me, "You're trending in her family chat. Congrats, you're the villain." I replied, "About time someone noticed my range." Around 3 p.m., Gordon the landlord called. "Hey, kid, everything good over there? Your wife's mom left me a voicemail calling me an accessory to cruelty." I laughed. "I prefer the term collaborator." "Fair enough," he said. "Just making sure you're not getting sued." "Not yet," I said, grinning. "But if I do, I'll frame it." The rest of the day was blissfully uneventful. No more door pounding, no more shouting, just quiet, the kind that feels earned. I spent the afternoon doing something truly rebellious. Nothing. I stretched out on the couch, watched a game, and let the smell of peace fill the room. That evening, I got one last text from Veronica. "You will regret humiliating my daughter." I typed back, "Already did. 6 years ago." Then I blocked her number. As the sun set, I stood by the window, bourbon in hand, looking down at the street. Somewhere out there, the Vasquez clan was regrouping, plotting their next dramatic episode. But for now, the season finale had aired, and the audience, me, was satisfied. Because for the first time in years, my life didn't feel like something happening to me. It felt like something I was writing. And damn, I was writing it well. By the next morning, my phone looked like it had survived a social media bombing. 23 missed calls, 14 voice messages, and at least 30 texts that read like a family group chat uprising. The Vasquez clan had gone full Marvel mode overnight, assembling faster than the Avengers, but with worse teamwork and more passive aggression. I sat at my kitchen counter, coffee in hand, scrolling through the messages like a war general reading enemy transmissions. The first was from Veronica, my dear mother-in-law, also known as the Screamer in Pearls. "How dare you throw my daughter out during wedding week?" The dramatics of it all. Wedding week, like it was a national holiday or a hostage situation. Next came Leon, Marina's dad, the self-appointed patriarch who always spoke like he was narrating a car commercial. "Son, we need to talk." Translation: "I'm about to yell at you while pretending it's fatherly wisdom." Then came the bride herself, Carmen. "Can you please not ruin my wedding?" My favorite was from their cousin Eli, the family clown. "Bro, that's cold." I replied to exactly one message, Leon's. Short and surgical. She told everyone we were on a break without asking me. I made it permanent. Send. Silence. Then, of course, more outrage. By 9 a.m., the calls had slowed, replaced by the telltale sound of my Ring camera dinging. I opened the app, and there she was. Veronica, in all her furious glory, standing outside my apartment door in a floral dress that probably doubled as battle armor. Beside her stood Marina, arms folded, looking like a woman auditioning for America's Next Top Victim. I sighed, took a slow sip of coffee, and turned on the mic. "Morning, ladies. Lovely day for trespassing, isn't it?" Veronica looked directly into the camera. "Lucas, open this door right now. You can't lock out your wife." "You mean ex-wife?" I corrected. "And I can, actually. Legally verified and everything. I can print the article if you'd like a copy for your scrapbook." Marina's voice was sharp enough to cut drywall. "You're insane. You can't just change the locks like I'm a stranger." "You are a stranger," I said evenly. "To honesty, to communication, to shared leases." Veronica grabbed the camera lens like she was filming her own hostage video. "You listen to me, young man. You've embarrassed this family enough." "Oh no, that was your daughter," I said, still calm. "She just outsourced the cleanup to me." The two of them started arguing, not with me, but with each other. I could only hear bits through the mic. I told you to wait until after the wedding. And he was supposed to understand. And my personal favorite from Veronica. You can't even keep a husband for a full tax year. I nearly choked on my coffee. It was like live theater for the emotionally unavailable. Then came the knocking. Hard, impatient, the kind that says, "We pay your bills," except they didn't. I let them knock for a full minute before opening the door halfway, chain still on. Veronica's face appeared through the gap, perfectly powdered rage. "Lucas Merritt, you let her in this instant." "Veronica," I said, smiling politely, "I appreciate your commitment to motherly overreach, but unless you're on the lease or the utility bill, this is just a hallway for you." Marina glared at me. "You think this is funny? You think humiliating me in front of everyone is some kind of joke? Funny? No. I'd call it poetic justice. You announced a breakup to everyone, remember? I'm just catching up to the headline." She scoffed. "You're acting like a child." I shrugged. Children don't usually pay rent or hire locksmiths. So technically, I'm acting like a responsible adult. Veronica gasped. "You will not speak to her that way." I didn't realize there was a right way to talk to someone who started her single era in a group chat. I replied. Leon appeared then, because of course he did. Dads can sense chaos within a 3-mile radius. He came striding down the hallway in khakis and a polo like he was about to mediate a Little League dispute. "Lucas," he said, holding up both hands. "Let's calm down." "I am calm, Leon." "Okay, well, she's upset. Maybe just let her come inside and get her bearings." "Her bearings are in those boxes." I pointed to the neatly stacked towers beside the door. Color-coded and labeled. I even wrapped the fragile ones. He blinked. "You boxed her things?" "Of course. I run an efficient operation." Marina threw her hands up. "Oh my God, you're enjoying this." "Not enjoying. Just documenting." I pulled out my phone and started filming. Gotta keep records. You know, for the next episode of the Audacity Chronicles. Veronica lunged for the phone, but Leon stopped her. "Enough," he said firmly. "Lucas, listen, she made a mistake. She was emotional. Maybe you can forgive, move past it." I looked him dead in the eye. "Leon, if she'd just cheated, I could almost respect it. At least that requires effort. What she did was lazy betrayal, the text message equivalent of ghosting your mortgage." Carmen appeared next, the bride, the family's peacekeeper, looking exhausted and overdressed for confrontation. "Everyone stop," she pleaded. "My wedding is in 2 days. Can we not turn this into a reality show?" Marina whirled on her sister. "Don't you dare take his side." "I'm not taking sides," Carmen yelled. "I'm taking deep breaths because you're ruining my rehearsal dinner." I leaned casually against the doorframe. She's not wrong. This is giving more drama than romance. "Lucas," Marina shrieked. "Marina." I mimicked, because maturity's overrated once someone weaponizes family. Veronica pointed a shaking finger at me. "You're going to regret this when your next girlfriend sees how cruel you can be." "Actually," I said, "my next girlfriend will probably thank me for the improved security system." Leon rubbed his temples. "This is unbelievable." "No," I corrected. "This is closure. You're witnessing it in real time." They all started talking over each other then. Accusations, sob stories, half-truths, all bouncing off the hallway walls like emotional dodgeballs. I stood there behind the chain lock, sipping coffee like a museum guard watching visitors argue over modern art. Eventually, Carmen had enough. "That's it," she snapped. "Mom, Dad, Marina, get in the car. We're leaving. Right now." Veronica turned to her. "We are not leaving until he apologizes." "For what?" I asked. "Being efficient?" "For being a monster," she yelled. I smiled. "A monster with a lease." Carmen grabbed Marina by the arm. "You can cry later. We've got a florist meeting in 30 minutes, and you look like you wrestled a raccoon." "Wow," I said. "Sister of the year." Carmen glared at me. "Don't make me regret defending you." "Lucas." "Defending me?" She rolled her eyes. "She's been lying to everyone for weeks, saying you're the reason she's miserable. I told Mom to stay out of it. She didn't. So here we are." I raised an eyebrow. "So you do see the pattern?" Carmen sighed. "Don't push it." Then to her sister, "Grab your boxes or don't. Either way, we're leaving." Marina stared at me for a long second, eyes glassy with fury and humiliation. "You think you've won, don't you?" she hissed. "No," I said calmly. "Winning would have been a marriage that didn't end with emojis. This is just damage control." She opened her mouth to fire back, but Carmen dragged her away. The family retreat was spectacular. Veronica huffing, Leon defeated, Marina muttering insults under her breath. I watched them disappear into the elevator, the metallic doors sliding shut like punctuation on the loudest paragraph of my life. When the hall went quiet again, I closed the door, locked it, and just stood there, smiling. Not the manic kind, the peaceful, post-storm grin of someone who just survived emotional weather. I went to the kitchen, poured another cup of coffee, and turned on the radio. Some old blues track played, smooth, ironic, perfect. I leaned back against the counter, watching the sunlight crawl across the floor, and thought about how bizarrely satisfying it all was. By lunchtime, I'd already started getting new texts, screenshots of Marina's latest group chat meltdown. Apparently, she'd told everyone I was abusive, which was bold coming from someone who weaponized social media like a sniper rifle. Owen texted me, "You're trending in her family chat. Congrats, you're the villain." I replied, "About time someone noticed my range." Around 3 p.m., Gordon the landlord called. "Hey, kid, everything good over there? Your wife's mom left me a voicemail calling me an accessory to cruelty." I laughed. "I prefer the term collaborator." "Fair enough," he said. "Just making sure you're not getting sued." "Not yet," I said, grinning. "But if I do, I'll frame it." The rest of the day was blissfully uneventful. No more door pounding, no more shouting, just quiet, the kind that feels earned. I spent the afternoon doing something truly rebellious. Nothing. I stretched out on the couch, watched a game, and let the smell of peace fill the room. That evening, I got one last text from Veronica. "You will regret humiliating my daughter." I typed back, "Already did. 6 years ago." Then I blocked her number. As the sun set, I stood by the window, bourbon in hand, looking down at the street. Somewhere out there, the Vasquez clan was regrouping, plotting their next dramatic episode. But for now, the season finale had aired, and the audience, me, was satisfied. Because for the first time in years, my life didn't feel like something happening to me. It felt like something I was writing. And damn, I was writing it well. Saturday morning hit like a hangover from someone else's drama. I woke up to sunlight slicing through the blinds, birds chirping like nothing catastrophic had happened, and a phone that wouldn't stop vibrating on the nightstand. I rolled over, grabbed it, and, surprise, my entire feed had turned into a highlight reel of bad decisions. Marina Vasquez, maid of honor turned main event, starring in The Crying Game, Wedding Edition. The first photo I saw was a group shot. Carmen in her wedding dress, glowing like she'd swallowed the concept of grace, the groom beaming beside her, and then, stage left, Marina, mascara dripping down both cheeks like war paint, clutching a bouquet that looked like it had just witnessed a crime. The caption, "Family is everything red heart #Vasquez wedding #sisters forever." Sure, if forever means 48 hours and a restraining order. I took a sip of coffee and scrolled like a man binge-watching Karma. Every new photo was a different stage of collapse. Slide 2. Marina wiping tears mid-vow, bridesmaids pretending not to notice. Slide 3. Her smiling for the camera but her eyes screaming, "Delete this later." Slide 4. A video, uploaded by Cousin Eli. I hit play because curiosity always wins. The video opened on a crowded reception hall, string lights, champagne, fake laughter. Then the camera panned to the dance floor, where Marina was attempting a smile while holding a wine glass the size of a fishbowl. The DJ announced, "All right, time for the maid of honor speech," and I nearly spit my coffee. Oh no, there she was, climbing on stage, hair slightly undone, clutching a crumpled note. "Hi everyone," she started, voice shaky. "I just want to say, love is hard." The room went quiet. Carmen's smile froze halfway. Marina continued, "You think you know someone, and then one day, boom, they change the locks on you." Collective gasp. Even through the phone screen, I felt the secondhand embarrassment hit me like a brick. Someone behind the camera whispered, "Oh my God, love isn't perfect," she went on. "But forgiveness," she paused, took a gulp of wine. "Forgiveness is key. Unless your ex takes the keys." The crowd laughed nervously. Carmen looked ready to commit a sibling homicide. I closed the video halfway through her crying into the microphone. That was enough. I didn't need to see the ending. I already knew it. Chaos never lands gracefully. My phone buzzed again. Owen, of course. Owen, you seeing this? Bro, she's trending in her own zip code. Me. I'm watching live coverage from the safety of my bacon and eggs. Owen, half the guests are recording her speech. One caption says maid of honor meltdown, better than Netflix. Me. I always said she had range. I spent the next hour doom scrolling through every repost and comment. Her Facebook page had turned into a digital battlefield. Friends commenting things like, "Stay strong, Queen Red Heart," and "Men are trash." Others, mostly Carmen's friends, dropping popcorn emojis. The algorithm was working overtime to deliver me front row seats to her public undoing. Then a message popped up in my inbox. "Hey, this is Logan." I stared at it for a second, trying to place the name. Then it hit me, Marina's high school ex. The same Logan who'd left a heart emoji on her post last week. I clicked open the message. "Logan, hey man, sorry to bother you, but I figured you'd want to know. Marina's been trying to talk to me all night. She kept bringing you up, crying, saying she made a mistake. My fiancé's furious. Just wanted to give you a heads up." I stared at the message, blinked twice, then laughed so hard I nearly choked on toast. Of course, the mysterious break she'd announced was just an emotional test drive. One she apparently flunked before the wedding cake was even cut. I typed back, "Appreciate the intel, man. Congrats on dodging whatever this is." He replied with a simple, "Thanks. You seem way too calm about this." I was calm. That's the thing about seeing someone's chaos from a distance. It turns into entertainment. It's like watching a storm from indoors. The lightning's gorgeous when it can't touch you. The rest of the day felt weirdly peaceful. Every time I refreshed my feed, there she was, crying in photos, blurry in videos, immortalized in hashtags. Hashtag maid of dishonor, hashtag Vasquez vibes, hashtag lock the heart. I didn't even need to speak. The internet was doing all the commentary for me. By evening, Carmen herself posted something on Instagram. A black and white photo of her hand covering her face. Caption, "Sometimes family doesn't need to be perfect. They just need to not be drunk at your wedding." Thousands of likes within minutes. I almost felt bad. Almost. Then came the inevitable. A text from Marina. First one since she'd been locked out. "Marina, hope you're happy." I typed and deleted at least 3 drafts before settling on the truth. Me? Ecstatic. "You." She didn't reply. An hour later, another message came in, from Leon, the dad. "Leon. Son, I don't know what happened last night, but your wife's hurting. Maybe just check in." I almost laughed. The same man who'd lectured me yesterday about family duty was now begging for damage control. Me? She announced our breakup mid-presentation. I locked the door. The universe handled the rest. He never texted back. Probably because he was busy cleaning up emotional debris between daughters. Around 9 p.m., I got another Ring notification. Curiosity won again. It was Veronica, back in the driveway, pacing like a mob boss. She was on the phone, yelling. I couldn't hear every word, but public embarrassment, therapy bill, and our family name came through crystal clear. I poured myself another bourbon and toasted the camera. Cheers to accountability. Sunday morning, the news spread beyond social media. A mutual friend from work, Grace, called me laughing so hard she could barely breathe. "Lucas, did you see the Reddit thread? Someone uploaded her speech to her /wedding fails. You have to look." I opened Reddit, typed it in, and there it was, top post of the day. Title, Maid of Honor loses it on stage after ex changes the locks. Over 2 million views. The comments were a masterpiece. He changed the locks? King behavior. She really said forgiveness is key while holding a wine glass. Iconic. I hope he has Ring footage of the reaction. Part 2 when? Part 2 when, indeed. I was tempted to post the footage just to complete the cinematic universe, but I didn't need to. The world was doing it for me. By noon, the Vasquez family had apparently gone full damage control mode. Carmen privated her Instagram. Veronica posted a vague Facebook status about protecting loved ones from toxic narratives. Leon posted nothing, which was honestly the smartest move that family had made in years. As for Marina, she posted a black screen with white text. Healing is messy, black heart. The comment section was split right down the middle. Half, sending love, babe red heart. Half, girl, maybe don't drink before speeches. I almost felt sorry. Almost. Owen called again around 3. "Dude," he said, "she did an Instagram live. Oh God. Oh yeah. 15 minutes of sobbing, saying you ruined her life, calling you emotionally cold and materially detached. What does that even mean? I don't know, man, but someone clipped it. It's on TikTok with lo-fi music. Perfect. Exactly how I wanted my divorce arc to sound. Mournful beats and gaslighting. He laughed. You're taking this scarily well. Because it's not my crisis anymore. It's content. After the call, I sat on the balcony, phone in one hand, glass in the other, watching the sun dip below the buildings. Somewhere out there, she was probably still refreshing her notifications, scrolling through comments that flipped between sympathy and schadenfreude. Meanwhile, I was breathing, really breathing, for the first time in months. At some point, I opened her wedding speech video again. Not out of spite, out of fascination. She was so busy performing heartbreak, she forgot to feel it. Every word was a script, every tear an audition. The difference between us was simple. She needed an audience. I needed silence. Later that night, Carmen sent me a DM that read, Carmen, I'm sorry about everything. You didn't deserve that. She was a mess. Me. You handled it like a pro. Congrats on the wedding. Carmen. Thanks. My husband's still mad you missed it. Me. Trust me, I was virtually there. Front row on Reddit. She sent a laughing emoji and then added, Mom's furious at me for posting that caption. Me. Your caption was perfect. Carmen. She says you're humiliating the family. Me. I prefer the term modernizing it. When I finally put my phone down, the silence in the apartment felt different, earned. Peace didn't sound like emptiness anymore. It sounded like freedom with Wi-Fi. Before bed, I checked one last thing. Marina's Facebook status had changed from in a relationship to complicated. I smirked. Understatement of the century. Then I closed my laptop, turned off the lights, and let myself laugh one last time before sleep. Because some breakdowns you mourn. Others, you stream in HD. Sunday morning arrived with the kind of fake peace you only get after a tornado. Everything looked still, but you knew debris was waiting just outside the window. I brewed coffee, opened my phone, and boom, instant chaos. Notifications stacked like unpaid bills. My ex-wife had gone full PR crisis mode overnight. Her Facebook feed read like a Hallmark movie written by a liar. The post started with, sometimes love fails not because one stops trying, but because the other stops seeing you. Cute, right? Paragraph 2 got better. My husband abandoned me emotionally months ago. Yesterday was the last straw. I tried to hold our marriage together, but you can't build forever alone. She'd even attached a black and white selfie, messy hair, tear-streaked cheeks, filter called Victim Vintage. The comments were a dumpster fire of empathy. You deserve better. Stay strong, queen. Men don't know how to handle real love. I scrolled until I hit the good part. Someone had already linked the viral wedding speech video in the replies. The internet is undefeated. Half her friends were defending her, the other half were roasting her like Thanksgiving turkey. My favorite comment came from her cousin Eli again. Girl, maybe don't bring up locks and forgiveness during a toast. That man was doing the Lord's work. I didn't post anything. I didn't have to. The truth was trending all by itself. But around noon, my phone rang, Veronica. Of course. Lucas Merritt. She barked the second I picked up. She cried all through her sister's wedding because of you. Really? I said, yawning. Because of me? Or because she announced a breakup mid-meeting and then got locked out of an apartment she didn't pay for? You're cruel, she shouted. Heartless. Veronica, I said calmly. If cruelty means not letting your daughter freeload and gaslight me, then yes. Call me Cruella. You'll regret this when everyone sees how cold you are. I hope they do, I said. I could use the good press. She hung up after that, probably to write her own Facebook manifesto. By 1 p.m., Marina's post had over 300 comments, a split audience cheering for Team Marina or Team Logic. I was tagged in at least a dozen threads. Owen texted me a screenshot with the caption, Bro, you're officially the villain in a Hallmark reboot. Perfect, I typed back. Villains get the best lines. Still, curiosity got me. I clicked open the thread where she'd called me emotionally unavailable. The first reply underneath? Carmen, her sister. This isn't what happened, Marina. You embarrassed everyone yesterday. Please stop lying. I almost spit coffee. Family betrayal on the timeline, chef's kiss. Within minutes, the post disappeared. Deleted. The internet never forgets, though. Screenshots were already circulating like bootleg merch. An hour later, another ping, Marina's Instagram story. A photo of an empty wine glass and the caption, "Trying to heal when the person who hurt you doesn't care." No tag, but please. I might as well have been the glass. I watched it play out like a sport. Every time she posted, the comments turned into a public courtroom. Someone wrote, "Didn't she do that breakup thing by text?" Another replied, "Yeah, but he changed the locks." Someone else chimed in, "Sounds like equal chaos." That's the internet for you. No referees, just spectators throwing popcorn. Then came the direct message. Marina, hope you're proud of yourself. Everyone's calling me the villain. Me? That's crazy. I thought that was my role. Marina, you ruined my reputation. Me? You did that with Wi-Fi and poor timing. Marina, I loved you, Lucas. You made me feel small. Me? No, I just stopped applauding. Three dots appeared, disappeared, reappeared. Then nothing. I put my phone down, stepped onto the balcony, and breathed in the quiet Chicago air. Below, some couple walked their dog, laughing. Probably thought love was permanent. I didn't blame them. I used to think the same. By evening, Carmen called. Her voice sounded tired, wedding aftershock tired. Hey, just checking you're alive. Barely, I said. The internet thinks I'm a supervillain. Well, she said, at least you're trending. I laughed. How's the newlywed life? Or should I say crisis management life? She sighed. Mom's furious. Dad's pretending not to be. Marina's locked in her room, watching sad movies. The bridesmaids are still gossiping about the speech. It's a circus. You sound thrilled. I sound exhausted. And for the record, I told her to delete that post. She did, I said, after you publicly called her out. That wasn't planned. I just snapped. She's been telling people you cheated on her with your coworker. I blinked. Excuse me. Yeah. Said you had an emotional affair with your assistant. Assistant? I don't even have an assistant. I have Outlook. I know, but she's rewriting history. Be careful. Carmen, I said, if she wants to fabricate drama, she should start a podcast. She laughed, then sighed again. I gotta go. Just don't engage anymore, okay? Who, me? I'm just over here moderating my own peace conference. After hanging up, I opened my laptop and started drafting a LinkedIn post. Something neutral, professional, but pointed. Sometimes the hardest lessons in leadership come from personal boundaries. Invest in what respects you. Simple, vague, perfect. Within an hour, it had 50 likes. Petty? Maybe. Therapeutic? Absolutely. Around 10 that night, another buzz, Owen again. You see her TikTok? What TikTok? She made a montage. Sad music, slow motion. Your wedding photos fading into footage from the notebook. Oh God. Caption says, when forever turns into never. Comments are roasting her. Someone asked if the notebook was her eviction notice. I actually laughed until tears formed. The internet is too good to me. Dude, you're taking this like a champ. I'm just watching the movie. I already lived it once. Still, as midnight rolled around, I couldn't shake one thought. How easily people turn pain into performance. The digital age had turned heartbreak into a hobby. Everyone wanted to go viral for suffering. And Marina? She was an influencer of pity. Monday morning, I woke up to an email from HR, subject line. Concern inquiry. Apparently someone, guess who, had emailed my company claiming I used workplace resources to emotionally neglect her. I stared at the screen for a good 10 seconds before bursting out laughing. Emotional neglect? I didn't even have time to neglect my own lunch breaks. I forwarded the email to Owen, who replied, Dude, she's speedrunning a defamation lawsuit. Let her, I said out loud to my coffee mug. She'll need the publicity. By lunchtime, HR had cleared it. No action required. I celebrated by ordering sushi and posting a photo of it with the caption, nothing like raw honesty. Maybe 10 people got the joke, but it was worth it. Then, because the universe loves comedy, Marina tried to call. I let it ring out. 10 seconds later, she texted, Please just talk to me. I ignored it. Another came. I can fix this. Another. I'm sorry. And finally, you win. I almost replied, but then I remembered. This wasn't a game. You can't win against someone still competing for attention. So I muted her thread, set my phone down, and went for a walk. The air felt cleaner, lighter, like Chicago had personally congratulated me for not engaging. When I got home, I checked Facebook again. Her page was gone. Deactivated. Just like that. The same platform she used to end our marriage now closed her account on its own terms. Poetic symmetry, 10 out of 10 stars. I poured a bourbon, sat on the couch, and let the quiet hum around me. The world was still loud online, but in here? Silence. Glorious, earned silence. A final message popped up from Carmen. Mom says she's staying offline for a while. Thank you. I texted back. For what? For not retaliating. For being the adult. I smirked. Don't tell anyone. It'll ruin my villain brand. She replied with a laughing emoji, and that was that. The next morning, I woke up to sunlight streaming through clean windows and no notifications screaming for attention. For the first time in weeks, my phone was boring. Peacefully, beautifully boring. I brewed another pot of coffee, turned on some jazz, and leaned back in my chair. Let the world argue. Let the internet crown its heroes and villains. I wasn't playing anymore. Because in the end, the real win isn't proving who was right. It's realizing you don't need the audience anymore. It started on a Monday night that felt suspiciously quiet. The kind of quiet that makes you check if your neighbors moved out or if the world finally gave up on notifications. I'd ordered pepperoni pizza, the cure for both stress and moral superiority, and was halfway through an episode of Succession when my Ring doorbell chimed. The screen lit up with motion, and there she was. Marina. In the flesh, in full meltdown mode. She stood outside the building in an oversized hoodie, hair in chaos, mascara doing its best Jackson Pollock impression. She was pacing, phone in hand, talking to it like it owed her money. I muted the TV and turned up the Ring volume, a voyeur of my own past. Real love doesn't give up, she said to her front-facing camera, tears streaking. When you love someone, you fight. I took a slow bite of pizza. Fight who? I murmured. Reality. She walked closer to my door, angling her phone for lighting like a pro. Some people think locking doors can shut out the truth, she said dramatically. But truth finds a way. Oh my God, I whispered. She's doing a monologue. Every few seconds, she'd switch from yelling at me to addressing her invisible audience. It was part breakup vlog, part hostage video. At one point, she actually tried the doorknob. When it didn't budge, she gasped like betrayal was mechanical. I texted Owen. Guess who's auditioning for Dateline? He replied instantly. Please tell me you're recording. I sent him the Ring link. Popcorn ready, he wrote back. For 2 straight hours, she performed her one-woman show outside my apartment. Crying, pacing, preaching to the internet gods. People walking their dogs slowed down to watch, phones out. At one point, Mrs. Kowalski from 3B cracked her door and yelled, Honey, he's clearly done. Go home. Marina screamed back. This isn't about you, lady. It was becoming neighborhood television. Around 9:15 p.m., I poured myself a bourbon, leaned back on the couch, and said, and here we have the rare X in the wild, performing its mating call, Delusion. Then she sat down against the wall, head in hands, muttering. I couldn't hear much, but I caught my name, forgiveness, and he'll regret it. I wasn't sure whether to laugh or call a therapist on her behalf. At 10:07, she lifted her phone again, this time on Instagram Live. I checked my own account. Yup, she was broadcasting from outside my door to an audience of 92 people. The caption read, Sometimes love knocks and no one answers broken heart. Technically, I said to the TV, love was evicted. I watched the comments scroll. Girl, he doesn't deserve you. Wait, is this the lock guy? Somebody call the cops. Good idea, random stranger. After 2 hours of what could only be described as emotional interpretive dance, I called the non-emergency police line. Hey, I said. So my ex-wife's been outside my apartment live streaming for sympathy points for about 2 hours. I'd say she's emotionally stable, but she's quoting Taylor Swift between sobs. The dispatcher didn't even hesitate. We'll send someone. 10 minutes later, blue lights flashed outside my window. I muted the TV again. This was better than anything on HBO. 2 officers stepped out of the patrol car, approached Marina. I couldn't hear the first minute, but the body language said it all. Her pointing at my door, them glancing at the lock, one officer already suppressing a sigh. I turned on the Ring mic. Evening, officers. Thanks for coming out. She's trespassing. Doesn't live here. Not on the lease. Nothing. Marina spun toward the camera. I do live here. The taller officer, bless his soul, said, "Ma'am, your name's not on this lease. You need to leave." She gasped. "You're taking his side?" "No, ma'am," he said. "We're taking the law's side." Owen texted again. "Please tell me you're tipping these cops." Marina kept arguing, insisting she just wanted to talk. One cop leaned against the doorframe, deadpan. "Ma'am, you've been outside for over 2 hours. That's not talking. That's loitering." "I'm not loitering," she screamed. "I'm fighting for love." He shook his head. "You're fighting a closed door, ma'am." I swear, I almost sent him a thank you pizza on the spot. Eventually, the officers convinced her to leave. She stomped down the hall, shouting, "You'll regret this, Lucas." I pressed the mic again. Already did, back in 2018. Door slammed, hallway silent. I sat there, grinning like an idiot, slice in one hand, bourbon in the other. For the first time in a long time, I felt something close to peace. Not the loud, dramatic kind Marina worshipped, but the quiet, earned kind. I watched the playback one more time. There was something both tragic and liberating about it. Watching her cry didn't feel victorious. It felt final, like a bad movie ending exactly how you expected, just long enough to make sure you'd never buy the sequel. After the cops left, I texted Carmen. "FYI, your sister's been live streaming outside my door. It's handled now." She replied 5 minutes later. "Oh my God," I told her to stay with Mom. "I'm sorry, not your fault." I typed back. "She's doing a one-woman tour. Mom says you're evil. Tell her thanks. I'm going for mysterious anti-hero." Carmen just replied with a crying laugh emoji. I turned the TV back on, muted the ads, and leaned back. The apartment looked calm again, lights low, boxes of her things gone, air smelling faintly of pizza instead of lavender chaos. The contrast was almost poetic. Outside, she was spiraling. Inside, I was finally still. I grabbed another slice and whispered to myself, "Real love doesn't give up?" Sure. Real love also doesn't call the cops on itself. For the rest of the night, I scrolled through my feed, half expecting her to post another "he's cold and heartless" story. Nothing. Maybe the police warning finally hit. Or maybe she'd found a new audience. Either way, the silence was glorious. Around midnight, I poured the last of my bourbon, stepped out onto the balcony, and looked down at the street. The police car was gone. The world was back to normal. Or whatever passes for normal after your marriage ends via text and your ex hosts a breakup livestream outside your building. It was strange. Peace felt suspicious at first, like walking into a room after the fire's been put out and expecting more flames. But there weren't any. Just quiet. I sat there thinking about how love had turned into theater, how people perform heartbreak now like it's an Olympic event. And I realized something. Marina wasn't my responsibility anymore. Her chaos didn't belong to me. For years, I tried to fix her storms. Now I was just watching the weather from indoors. The next morning, there was a knock on my door, gentle, polite. I checked the peephole. Not Marina. The officer from last night. He was holding a clipboard. "Morning," he said when I opened the door. "Just following up on last night's report." "Everything good here. Couldn't be better," I said. He smiled faintly. "She's not allowed back on the property. We gave her a trespass warning. If she returns, call us." "Will do." He hesitated, then grinned. "Between you and me, my partner watched the Ring video this morning. Said it was the funniest domestic call he's had all year. Glad to provide entertainment." He chuckled. "Take care, Mr. Merritt." After he left, I closed the door and stood there for a moment, staring at the lock, the same lock that had started all this poetic nonsense. I turned it slowly, hearing the click. It sounded like freedom. Later that afternoon, I ordered another pizza because why mess with success? Owen called halfway through my first slice. "So," he said, "did the live performance end peacefully?" "Oh yeah," I said. "Police escorted the actress off set. Reviews are mixed, but Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 12. He laughed so hard I had to pause mid-bite. "You good, man?" "Better than I've been in years." He grew quiet for a second. "Honestly, I didn't think you'd handle it this well. Most guys would have cracked by now." "I did crack," I said, just quietly. Then I realized it wasn't worth rebuilding something that was never stable. "Damn," he said. "That's deep." "It's pizza philosophy." "Pizzalophy." He groaned. "Okay, now I regret complimenting you." We hung up after a few more jokes, and I sat there smiling. Not a vengeful smile, not even smug. Just calm. The kind that comes when you finally stop auditioning for someone else's approval. By nightfall, I deleted the old videos, archived the screenshots, and put my phone face down. Marina's meltdown didn't deserve a replay anymore. It had served its purpose, closure. The TV hummed softly, city lights blinked outside, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel like a supporting character in someone else's melodrama. I felt like a man eating pizza in peace. And if that isn't happiness, I don't know what is. The thing about karma is that it doesn't need your help. It just likes when you grab popcorn. 2 weeks after the Ring camera performance, I got the letter. Certified mail. The kind that pretends to smell like justice, but really reeks of desperation. Inside was a formal notice. Marina Vasquez versus Lucas Merritt, Small Claims Court. She was suing me for illegal eviction and emotional distress. The damages? $18,000 and a handwritten apology letter. An apology letter. Like we were 12 and the principal had just caught me pulling pigtails. I laughed so hard I scared my neighbor's cat through the wall. I sent a photo of the papers to Owen with one line. She's doubling down. He replied, "Oh, this is going to be fun. I'm bringing snacks." By the time court day rolled around, I was more than ready. I had everything printed, highlighted, and organized. The text where she ended the marriage. "Just a heads up, we're taking a break. LOL. The police report from her live stream stunt, the Ring footage, and even a notarized statement from my landlord confirming she was not on the lease. I could have taught a class called Petty Documentation and Legal Foresight 101. The courthouse smelled like bureaucracy and burnt coffee. I walked in wearing a navy suit, calm as a monk on vacation. Across the lobby, I saw her, Marina, in full wronged woman couture. Black dress, dramatic sunglasses indoors, tissue in hand like she was sponsored by Kleenex. Veronica stood beside her, whispering strategy like a deranged paralegal. Owen leaned over and muttered, "She looks like she's auditioning for Law and Order, Gaslight Victims Unit." "Shoo," I said. "Let the actress warm up." We were called into the small courtroom at 10 a.m. sharp. The judge, an older woman named Jenkins, looked like she'd seen enough divorce drama to last a century. Her eyes said, "If any of you make me late for lunch, I will personally jail you for bad vibes." Marina's lawyer, a young guy who clearly got this case from the bargain bin, started with flair. "Your Honor, my client has been the victim of an illegal eviction. She was denied access to her marital home and suffered emotional trauma as a result." Judge Jenkins raised an eyebrow. "Marital home? Is her name on the lease?" He hesitated. "Not technically, no. But then it's not marital property," she interrupted flatly. "Continue." I almost smiled. He launched into a 10-minute speech about emotional cruelty, power imbalance, and the sanctity of shared spaces. Meanwhile, Marina sniffled on cue, squeezing that tissue like it was auditioning too. When it was my turn, Owen nudged me. "Go get your Oscar." I stood, handed the judge a neatly labeled folder. "Your Honor, Exhibit A." The text message in which she unilaterally ended our marriage via emoji. Exhibit B. The police report confirming she was trespassing. Exhibit C. Video footage from my Ring camera showing her attempting to re-enter after being told she was no longer a resident. Jenkins glanced at the screenshots. You changed the locks after she texted this?" "Yes, ma'am," I said. "She said we were on a break. I just made it permanent." A small laugh rippled through the courtroom. Even Jenkins's clerk smirked before pretending to cough. Marina's lawyer tried to recover. "But, Your Honor, emotional damage." "From what?" Jenkins cut in. "Her own decision. She was under stress," he said desperately. "Her sister's wedding was that week." "Weddings are stressful," the judge said deadpan. "Not grounds for trespassing." Veronica gasped from the gallery. "He ruined her life." The judge didn't even look up. "Ma'am, unless you're an attorney of record, please be quiet." That shut her down faster than good sense ever had. Then came the highlight, the video. I played the Ring footage on the court monitor. Marina outside my door, crying, yelling, declaring to the internet that real love doesn't give up. Jenkins watched in silence, pin tapping against her chin. When it ended, she said, "So she broadcast this live?" "Yes, Your Honor," I said. I believe the phrase was, "Sometimes love knocks and no one answers." She forgot to mention it was police knocking at the end. The courtroom chuckled. The judge exhaled through her nose, fighting a smile. "I see. Then she turned to Marina. Ms. Vasquez, were you aware that broadcasting private disputes online can be considered harassment? Marina froze. I was emotional. Understandable, the judge said. But you cannot claim distress from consequences you created. Owen leaned over, whispering. We're watching a live execution. Marina's lawyer tried one last Hail Mary. Your Honor, my client only seeks closure. Then she's in the wrong building, Jenkins said dryly. 10 minutes later, it was over. Motion dismissed. No damages. No apology letter. Instead, the judge granted my counterpetition, a restraining order. 500 feet, 1 year, enforceable immediately. Marina's jaw dropped. What? You can't, he's lying. The judge banged her gavel once. Ma'am, he's documented. Case closed. Veronica erupted. This is an outrage. My daughter is the victim. The bailiff, a man built like a brick wall, stepped forward. Ma'am, please sit down or step out. Leon finally grabbed her arm. Veronica, enough. Marina turned to me, tears streaming again. You'll regret this, Lucas. You'll regret making me look like a fool. I met her gaze evenly. You didn't need help with that. Even the stenographer snorted. They stormed out, leaving the faint smell of perfume and failure behind them. Owen nudged me, whispering, that was the most satisfying courtroom episode I've ever seen. I exhaled slowly, the adrenaline finally fading. Jenkins signed the final papers and handed them to me. Mr. Merritt, she said, her tone softening. You handled this with restraint. That's rare. Thank you, Your Honor, I said. It's the bourbon. She smiled. Barely, but it counted. Good luck to you. Outside, the sun was blinding. Freedom looks brighter under courthouse glass. Owen clapped me on the back. Dude, you just won and got a standing ovation. Not bad for a Monday, I said. As we walked down the courthouse steps, a voice called out. Carmen. She stood near the parking lot, sunglasses on, hands in pockets. Hey, she said softly. Hey, I replied. I heard about the ruling. You did what you had to do. I nodded. You okay? She sighed. Barely. Mom's threatening to appeal to the family's honor. I told her honor left the group chat months ago. I laughed. Smart. She's staying with them again, Carmen said quietly. Marina. At my parents' house. She's not taking this well. She'll survive, I said. Drama's her cardio. Carmen managed to smile. For what it's worth, you handled this better than anyone expected. Thanks, I said. Years of customer service trained me. She chuckled, shook her head, then walked off toward her car. I watched her drive away, feeling a strange calm settle over me. Not triumph, closure. The kind you can't post online or prove in court. The kind that just breathes. Owen and I grabbed lunch afterward. He raised his burger like a toast. To karma. To documentation, I corrected. He grinned. You realize this could have been a Netflix series, right? I'd call it Lock, Stock, and Two Broken Hearts. He nearly choked on his fries. You're an idiot. An idiot with a restraining order, I said. Big difference. Later that evening, I got home, hung the official court order on my fridge like a kid's art project, and poured a glass of wine. The apartment was quiet again, blessedly quiet. I played soft jazz, opened the windows, and let the city hum beneath me. It struck me then, I didn't hate her. Not anymore. Hate takes energy. What I felt now was lighter, almost amused detachment. The kind of peace that comes when you stop arguing with people committed to misunderstanding you. My phone buzzed, unknown number. I ignored it. A minute later, a text came through. You think this is over? It's not. No name, but I didn't need one. I just smiled, took a sip of wine, and whispered, it is for me. Then I blocked the number. That night, as I crawled into bed, I replayed the courtroom in my head. The laughter, the judge's dry tone, the look on Marina's face when the gavel came down. Poetic symmetry. For once, the truth hadn't needed an argument. It had evidence. And when I finally drifted to sleep, I dreamed not of revenge or victory, but of silence, the kind that doesn't feel empty anymore, just earned. Because sometimes karma isn't loud. It's just paperwork stamped approved. A month after the courtroom circus, my life finally sounded like something new, quiet. Not the tense, waiting for the next text kind of quiet, but the kind that comes when the storm runs out of excuses. No more Ring notifications, no mysterious numbers, no late-night sobbing monologues in the hallway. Just me, my couch, and an apartment that smelled like detergent instead of drama. I woke up every morning without checking my phone first, which felt revolutionary. No walls of notifications, no "we need to talk" messages, no Facebook essays about emotional neglect. Just work emails, gym reminders, and Domino's coupons. Progress. The court order had done its job. Marina had vanished into offline obscurity. I didn't stalk her social media, but from what Carmen quietly mentioned once, she'd gone full ghost mode. Deleted accounts, stopped showing up at family dinners, maybe even took up yoga to find inner peace. I hoped she found it somewhere far, far away, preferably in a no Wi-Fi zone. Meanwhile, I found mine. Work was better than ever. That big Chicago deal I'd been pitching during the infamous "we're on a break" text? Closed. Biggest contract of the quarter. The board even gave me a bonus and a standing ovation, though to be fair, the bar was low. They'd seen me survive a public digital divorce and still deliver results. Nothing impresses executives like emotional stamina. I celebrated by doing something wild. I bought a new couch. Not the over-decorated one Marina had covered in 17 throw pillows that screamed, "Live, laugh, lie," but a sleek gray sectional. No frills, no messages, just comfort. The first night it arrived, I sat on it with a beer and a bag of chips, looked around the clean, minimalist living room, and said to myself, "Peace looks good on me." Owen came by the next weekend, pizza in one hand, sarcasm in the other. "You're scaring me, man," he said, dropping onto the couch. "You're too calm. I miss the chaos. Remember when your doorbell was basically a reality show?" "Yeah," I said, grinning. "Now it's just Amazon and pizza guys. Serenity sponsored by carbs." He looked around. "So this is single life, huh? No candles, no pastel nonsense, no emotional landmines." "Yup," I said. "Just quiet and Netflix judging me for rewatching Suits." We clinked beer bottles, both knowing we'd earned this dull peace like a trophy. 2 weeks later, I got invited to a friend's barbecue. I almost didn't go, still allergic to social gatherings with potential small talk, but Owen guilt-tripped me into it. "You can't spend every weekend hanging out with your couch like it's a new girlfriend," he said. "Go be normal." So I went. The barbecue was typical suburban chaos. Music too loud, someone burning burgers while pretending they weren't, and half the guests talking about crypto. I grabbed a plate of ribs and found a shady corner where I could enjoy my antisocial tendencies in peace. That's when I met Renee. She was by the drink table, arguing with a soda bottle like it had personally offended her. "Why do these caps never come off cleanly?" she muttered. I laughed before I could stop myself. She turned, smiling, eyebrows raised. "You laughing at my struggle?" "Just admiring your bravery in the face of carbonation," I said. That earned me a laugh, the real kind, not the polite one people give out of pity. She was normal, not influencer-level perfect, not overly polished, just real. Wavy brown hair, eyes that looked like they actually noticed things, and a sarcasm level that could rival mine. We started talking. She was a physical therapist, divorced 2 years ago, rebuilding her peace one sarcastic remark at a time. When she asked what I did, I told her I worked in software sales and moonlighted as a cautionary tale. By the time the sun dipped, we were laughing like old friends. She said, "So your wife announced a breakup via text and you evicted her?" "Technically," I said. "She announced it to the public first. I just followed her lead." Renee nearly spilled her drink laughing. "You let the algorithm finalize your divorce. That's iconic." "I like to think I just optimized the process." She smirked. "You know, I tell my clients healing takes time. But apparently, it also takes good Wi-Fi and sarcasm." "Guilty," I said. "My coping mechanism has a strong data plan." We exchanged numbers before the night ended, mostly because she asked, "You're not secretly married or live-streaming your trauma, right?" "Not since last month," I said. Over the next few weeks, we texted, met for coffee, shared stories. She was the kind of funny that didn't try too hard, and the kind that didn't need an audience. Around her, I didn't have to defend my peace. It was just there. One night, over dinner, she said, "So, be honest, if your ex called right now and said she wanted to talk, what would you do?" I didn't even have to think. Block her again, probably. Then order pizza. Renee grinned. "Healthy. Doctor approved. Physical therapist," she corrected. Same vibe. We both laughed, and in that moment, I realized something. I wasn't angry anymore. Not even a little. Marina's name didn't sting. The whole mess had turned into a weirdly entertaining life chapter, the kind you survive just to tell better stories later. Peace wasn't boring, it was clarity. That night, when I got home, I poured myself a drink and scrolled through old photos one last time. There was the wedding, the vacations, the smiles that had expiration dates. I deleted them all. Not out of bitterness, but because they didn't belong to this version of me. The one who finally understood that love without respect is just noise. Carmen texted me a week later. Just wanted to say thanks again for handling everything like an adult. Marina's, well, she's figuring stuff out. Good, I replied. We both are. She sent back a heart emoji. No drama, just acknowledgement. That was enough. One Saturday afternoon, I found myself on the balcony, sunlight hitting the skyline, jazz playing from the kitchen. I was reading a book. Yeah, reading, like someone with mental stability, and realized how far I'd come from that night at the hotel bar, staring into a drink and wondering how I'd ended up married to a headline. I'd stopped chasing closure because I'd already built it. Brick by brick. Court papers, new couch, better habits, quieter mornings. And then there was Renee. Not a rebound, not a replacement, just a reminder that peace doesn't mean isolation. Sometimes it just means you finally attract someone who matches your volume. The next time Owen came over, he caught me smiling at my phone. Oh no, he said. You're grinning. That's dangerous. Don't worry, I said. This one doesn't come with live streams or lawsuits. He laughed. You sure know how to pick plot twists. I looked around my apartment. No clutter, no chaos, no boxes labeled her stuff. Just my life, rebuilt from the ground up, looking better than it ever did. I raised my beer. To upgrades. He clinked his against mine. And to never ignoring red flags again. Please, I said. I see them in 4K now. Later that night, I got a text from Renee. Just saw a post that said, taking a break to find myself. Made me think of you. I replied, hope they pack boxes first. She sent back a laughing emoji. And that was it. The perfect punctuation mark to a story that started with chaos and ended with peace. Life wasn't dramatic anymore. It didn't need to be. Because when you finally stop performing for people who never clapped, you realize silence isn't empty. It's applause you earned yourself.